remembered Noah and all the wild animals and livestock with him in the boat. He sent a wind to blow across the earth, and the floodwaters began to recede. The underground waters stopped flowing, and the torrential rains from the sky were stopped. So the floodwaters gradually receded from the earth. After 150 days, exactly 5 months from the time the flood began, the boat came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. 2.5 months later, as the waters continued to go down, other mountain peaks became visible. After another 40 days, Noah opened the window he had made in the boat and released a raven. The bird flew back and forth until the floodwaters on the earth had dried up. He also released a dove to see if the water had receded and it could find dry ground. But the dove could find no place to land because the water still covered the ground. So it returned to the boat, and Noah held out his hand and drew the dove back inside. After waiting another 7 days, Noah released the dove again. This time, the dove returned to him in the evening with a fresh olive leaf in its beak. Then Noah knew that the floodwaters were almost gone. He waited another 7 days and then released the dove again. This time, it did not come back. Noah was now 601 years old. On the first day of the new year, 10.5 months after the flood began, the floodwaters had almost dried up from the earth. Noah lifted back the covering of the boat and saw that the surface of the ground was drying. 2 more months went by, and at last, the earth was dry. Then God said to Noah, "Leave the boat, all of you, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Release all the animals, the birds, the livestock, and the small animals that scurry along the ground, so they can be fruitful and multiply throughout the earth." So Noah, his wife, and his sons and their wives left the boat, and all of the large and small animals and birds came out of the boat, pair by pair. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and there he sacrificed as burnt offerings the animals and birds that had been approved for that purpose. And the Lord was pleased with the aroma of the sacrifice, and said to himself, "I will never again curse the ground because of the human race, even though everything they think or imagine is bent toward evil from childhood. I will never again destroy all living things. As long as the earth remains, there will be planting and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night."
All right, everybody, ready to dive in. Today, we're tackling Genesis 8.
Oh, a classic. Flood, ark, the dove, the olive branch.
Yeah, everyone knows the story. But trust me, there's some seriously fascinating stuff hidden beneath the surface here. We're going deep.
I like it. Deep dive, let's go.
So we're picking up right where we left off. World's underwater, right? Noah, his family, all those animals stuck on that ark, just bobbing around.
Not exactly a cruise?
No, not at all. But then Genesis 8 opens with the waters receding. It says, God remembered Noah.
Remembered. Interesting choice of words, right?
It really is. It's not just that the water's going down. It's like God actively turns his attention back to Noah. What's that about?
It is interesting. It's like God making a point of it, this turning point. And it's not just like, boom, dry land. The text really emphasizes that it's a gradual thing.
Right.
150 days, the wind steadily blowing, the water slowly receding. It's like even divine action, it unfolds within these natural processes, over time.
A partnership. Like even God works within the natural order of things.
Exactly. God initiates, sets things in motion, but things take time. Which I guess is a nice segue to our next point. Because speaking of slow and steady, the next thing Noah does is send out a raven to scout things out.
And I've always wondered this. Why a raven? They're not exactly known for being, symbols of peace and hope, are they?
Yeah, they don't exactly scream good news, do they? But think about it. In ancient Near Eastern cultures, ravens were often linked with transition, even with, scavenging. After this devastating flood, there's going to be,
a lot of cleanup, you're saying.
A lot. Sending out a raven first, it could be about confronting that reality, the death, the destruction. Before you can even start to think about renewal and starting over, you have to face what is.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. Makes you see it in a whole new light. Okay, but then, of course, comes the dove, sent out, comes back, sent out again. comes back, finally returns with that olive leaf. Even today, that image is just so powerful.
Oh, absolutely. And it's powerful for a reason. The olive tree, it was deeply symbolic in the ancient world. You think about olive trees, they are resilient, they can grow in practically anything, rocky soil, whatever, withstand droughts, you name it. So for people who live so close to the land, olive trees represented that tenacity, that will to live.
They just keep going.
Keep going. And so after the flood, that little olive leaf, it's not just, oh, hey, look, some plants survived. It's like life finds a way. It's this powerful symbol of hope, of peace, of restoration.
And the text is so specific, too, which is something I always notice. It says fresh olive leaf. Why?
Right.
Why not just an olive leaf? Why that detail?
Right. That one word just changes everything. You picture a withered, dried up leaf. It doesn't have the same impact. It's telling us this is new life emerging from the devastation. And I think that's beautiful.
It really is. And then finally, after all that time, Noah and his family, all the animals, they finally emerge from the ark. Can you imagine that feeling? After being cooped up for so long, finally stepping back onto dry land.
What a relief that must have been. To feel the earth under your feet, breathe fresh air, see the sun. And what's the first thing Noah does? Builds an altar.
He builds an altar to the Lord. It's like this huge exhale, this expression of gratitude.
And it's right there, in that moment, that we get this incredible shift in the narrative. This is where God establishes that covenant, promising to never again destroy all life. A huge moment, a turning point in this relationship between God and humanity.
And it's not just a casual promise. The text says never again and then repeats it, like God's really hammering it home.
Like, I mean it this time, which I think speaks to the power of this promise. God's not holding back. It's a promise of a fresh start, not just for Noah, but for all of humanity.
Yeah, a clean slate. And so, as we resurface from this deep dive, I can't help but think about that little olive leaf. Small, fragile, yet such a powerful symbol of hope and renewal.
It really makes you think, what are those fresh starts we're hoping for, searching for in our own lives? And what role do we each play in cultivating those new beginnings? What seeds are we planting?
Now, those are some seriously deep questions. Great stuff today. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll catch you next time.